Well, it is the worst weather possible, monsooning here in Chicago, but we have Trace with us, making the day a little bit better. Trace, it is great to have you. You're a returner.
Yes. Hi, Vince. Thanks for having me. I'm returned and an honor to be back.
We, you reached out to me a couple weeks ago and
hmm
um, told me you have an upcoming project that is out the 22nd called Crybaby.
Yes.
Love to spend the time talking about that. Can you just give us a quick, how would you describe the project in a quick blurb?
I would describe Crybaby as a project that gave me permission to really feel everything that I didn't know was coming for me.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It was an accidental piece of work that I didn't want to write another EP. And then I just wrote it because of the lockdown and because of the grief and because of everything. So
You
yeah.
didn't want to write another EP, but you knew it would be good though.
I did not know that. I wanted to quit music. That was my like truly my anthem for the end of my last record and the end of my label deal. I was like, I need a break. This
Yeah.
industry sucks. Help. I was a little bit dramatic, but I
You
was
sound like a lot of people.
I do. I sound like all my friends. Like we're all like so exhausted, but the irony is that music is the only thing that keeps us like actually like human and
Exactly.
well. So, yeah.
So you after you went indie and after your last project, you said, "This is it. I'm gonna write. This is my passion." And then you had a breath of fresh air and said, "You know what? I'm gonna do another project." And it has, I can vouch for it, came out wonderfully.
Thank you.
What moment kind of told you to get back into it, or what inspired you to get back into it?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I I think that I wanted to try other mediums of writing more seriously. So I was writing a script, like a screenplay, and that was really fun. But every time I wrote like something that wasn't music, I wanted to make a line into a lyric.
Right.
And so one of the first songs I did write was my first single, which is Could I Break Your Heart? And it
Yep.
was one of my favorite pieces of writing. And I just felt it felt like a return to self in ways because I created it in such a obviously I want to be an artist who creates from like an honest, unpressured, unanxious way. But I think the surprise of loving the feeling so quickly again was jarring. And I think for me, it was just the timing of I did take a strong, like month month and a half of just like I'm writing a screenplay, don't talk to me, music sucks.
Yep. Yep.
But then I didn't last very long and I just, I needed it and I wrote it and I thankfully I had a buddy and he was, in the COVID bubble and I was like, can we write some stuff together? And he's like, yeah, 100%. And
100%.
Ryan Hughes ended up writing most of my EP with or like producing it with me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it happened.
And so he produced it.
He produced most of the songs on the EP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I was gonna say, yeah, the production behind it is it's so like I'm a sucker for, and this is what I notice on Divided is I'm a sucker for the songs going one way and slowly it like builds up, kind of like low. Like
Mm.
that's why I fell in love with low, is because it's kind of like slower. And then
Mm.
you just layer in like a bunch of synths and it,
Yeah.
it has like a culmination at the end. And I'm like, wow. And that's kind of what I feel about Divided. So
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it's interesting to be so a part of like low is me. I get it, and I'm always like, okay, is that it? Is that even a good song? And I know it is, and I'm really proud of
oh,
it.
please.
It's like no, it's just like it's this thing where you're like, is this me? I don't know, but I do. I'm really proud of low, and every
Yeah.
time I write, I do want to have the essence of that. And I would say to genre wise, I don't know if you can tell with this, but maybe it's not this project, but I have been working on more music since then too. But I'm leaning a little bit tiny bit more towards like alternative.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that means yet, but it's
Yeah.
definitely an interesting journey.
You can kind of tell from
Yeah.
some of the songs. I mean, they don't have as much of an electronic background
Hmm.
as maybe some of your other work. So
Yeah.
I get that. And I'm sure when people listen to the whole thing, they'll also get that.
Hmm.
Um, does that just come from wanting to do something different or just kind of playing around? I mean, that's the artist in you.
Yeah, I think that it's fun to give yourself permission to just do anything and try anything. I think also at the core of my like soul, I'm not a dance artist, even though my most popular song is like considered a electronic dance-ish track, which I'm like, that's fun. I'm here for it. The community is sick. I love the community that I was kind of brought up in, like
Right.
having been like discovered by like Odessa or like, people of that nature. It just
Mhm.
makes me giggle a little bit, but I'm also like, that's chill. And I've
Yeah.
made so many homies in that realm. I think for me, it's more of this, I think confidence of just really, really honing in on how I can sound and how I can write and how I can, learn production. I'm not like a producer in any
Yeah.
way, but I'm learning things and I'm just harkening back to like what did I grow up on? Like what did I listen to? And I was and am a very emo kid. And so I'm like,
No way.
oh my, yeah, can you guys tell? I'm like a dashboard gal, like a Taking
Oh,
Back Sunday gal, like, but I'm
mhm.
not making like Taking Back Sunday music, but I do love a guitar. I love an electric guitar and I'm trying to revisit some sounds that I grew up on, but also make it mine, of course. And I think a lot about the fun aspect of like dancing to like dance music. Like that's
Yeah,
fun
yeah,
too. So I want to try it all.
sure. And that makes a ton of sense. Like I said, it sounds great. I'd want to talk about the song "Feel Some More."
Hmm.
That's the most because the I think the structure in which I listened to it, it was what had already come out, and then I listened to a few of the others, and "Feel Some More" was the most upbeat,
Hmm.
and you could tell from the lyrics that you could tell the most from those lyrics that that is a song where it probably directly translated from an experience you had
Hmm.
and you immediately were like this would be great as a song, like I have to
Hmm.
write this. Is that true, and what was that experience?
That's funny. I love that take on that because that is the most upbeat song and
Yep.
the most positive song. So I would say that if I have any feeling of joy or like happiness, I'm like, I better lock this out and write a
Yep.
song because
Yep.
this is not gonna last. And I really had a moment where I was just like, what would like Mark Ronson maybe do? I had like a vision, like a visual for this song where it's like kind of like Boogie Nights and you're just like walking through. And so
Yep.
I really wanted a song that matched that vibe. And so Feel Some More was a very special like piece where I was like, yeah, this song deserves some like a higher BPM and a little more oomph from my vocal work. And so yeah, it was groovy, it was fun, and it stemmed from feeling like, but there's still, if you listen to the words like closely, you still hear this sadness to it because it's still
Exactly.
like a letdown. Yeah.
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 That's kind of what I was getting at. Like it, yeah, it's upbeat, but there's a story behind it, and
Hmm.
I think it was beautifully written. And I'm doing a better job as someone who owns a music publication of like digging into the lyrics. Like I'm
Yeah.
doing better. And initially, I was like, let's just interview people, and
Yeah.
the music sounds cool,
Yeah.
great. But now I'm
Yeah.
like, you know, coming into my own and understanding a little more. And I mean, you're a great um, person to learn from. So that was one takeaway I had, and then the other one was on disasters.
Hmm.
I can you just talk about disasters a little bit? Like what was the premise behind the song?
Yeah.
I know before we jumped on, I said that the whole chorus has been stuck in my head all day. I think it's sneakily the most catchy out of
Hmm.
them all. So I just want to hear your take on it.
That's cool. Should have been a single then. I'm just kidding. I really, yeah, that song. it started off as a poem I wrote,
Oh,
and unfortunately it does stem around like the heaviest like heart that I kind of brought to the project in the sense of like feeling a sense of loss
mhm.
and grief with the world
Yeah,
today, and with like truly the hate against, the AAPI community.
right.
And if you listen to it, it could sound a little like a flurries of like, you go through stuff and you're gonna get back up and we're gonna be okay. And it could feel romantic, but it is romantic in a way. It's relational, definitely in a way. And I was writing some lines. Yeah, it started off as a poem, and I just was like reading it, and I was like, it would be really cool to kind of really share this part of me in my
Yeah,
music, because it's a newer identity that I will say that I'm traversing, in that I know I'm Asian, but
yeah.
I spent a lot of my life not wanting to be, and wanting to be really American. And I am American, but like being like a white American, and growing up with like my mom, who is like literally definitely Asian, but very like, we love America, which
Yeah.
I'm like, I get, because it saved her life, this
Mhm.
country. But at the same time, you grow up assimilating and trying to survive. And
Mhm.
looking back at the way I lived, the way I dated, the way I had friends, like I was very, uh, yeah, probably ashamed about being, Asian American. And with this whole freaking few years, with
Yeah,
things coming up to surface and more moments to myself of sitting with myself, really, really, really looking at myself and feeling the weight of the horror around me, I felt like it was really, really personal. And I like mourned a lot over the last 2 years of the attacks. And I was like, why can't I stop crying? So I'm like, oh, because that's like my people, that's me,
exactly.
that's my mom, and so I wrote this song. And when you listen to it, it's catchy, because I think grief is catchy, like people
100%.
understand. Yeah, people understand grief, and what's cool about this song is I actually worked on it with my friend Amanda Bantag, and she's Filipino. And so I felt really honored that she was available and in town,
Yeah,
and we did that song. And she's an insane musician too, and producer, and like artist. And I was like, this is where I'm coming from, it would be dope if you could do this song. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, cool.
sweet.
Yeah.
See, that's why I love talking about these kind of things is now I'm going to go back and re-listen through that lens and have a different outlook on it. So that, I mean,
Mhm.
I appreciate you opening up about that because it's going to give the song a whole new meaning for,
Yeah.
other listeners. So,
Yeah, I hope so.
and another tough question, obviously, but you, is there a song that on the project that
Mhm.
defines how you feel right now at this point in your life? Because when you emailed me, you mentioned have a project and I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling really new and
Mhm.
fresh right now. And
Mhm.
I want you to hear it. And I love that you said that. It's so simple, but I love that you said that. What song on the project do you think kind of speaks to that and brought those kind of feelings?
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like it's cool to like kind of scramble in my head, like all these songs mean so much to me.
Right.
Like the first thought was like the obvious thought of like, oh, feel some more. It's like I need to feel more. Like all I want to do is feel more, because I feel
Mhm.
like I've done a great job at like not feeling things. Because you're trying to protect yourself, and you're just trying to like get through it, and you're just trying to like be safe. And
Yeah.
but then I would say also like my latest the last single that I released off the project, Divided,
Yeah.
feels like me in the sense of like I don't feel divided, but I feel so split. I feel, ooh, that's a hard question, because I'm like divided makes me feel the most me, because I love this song so much. But it's a song that portrays this like feeling of like I just want this, but I also want this. And I'm like, why do I want everything? And I've always wanted everything,
Yeah.
And I think I think it's really relational. And the line in Divided is, when did I give you the impression that it was okay to teach me a lesson?
Right.
And it's like, I love learning things. I'm a big learner, but I've been really humbled by this process of like learning about myself and about relationships and like the types of people I'm drawn to and that I like and that I need. And yeah, I think, and that song is a lot about living in your head. And I
Yeah.
live in my head a lot. And so it's a lot about like fantasy. And I think that's where I'm having fun now. I think
Mhm.
this project is pretty heady because it's like for me it's called Cry Baby because it's like it's cry comma baby, like cry baby,
Right.
go do it, live your life.
Mhm.
And so now I'm like wanting to live my life. I don't know what that means,
Good.
like, it's like whether it's like dating anyone I want, like anyone who I never thought I would date, to like being so Asian and being like, I'm Asian and I'm grieving. This sucks. Like it's just really being myself
Yeah.
without, I hope it's not cryptic. It's just more like I have felt very constrained my whole life. I think just being so careful. Like
Right.
I'm a very careful gal. And now I'm kind of like, let's not be careful.
Let's be reckless, you know.
A little bit. Let's try. I mean, it's not in me, but I'm like trying my best to like
Right.
live my like I'm not in my 20s. And I'm like, let's be in our 20s. How does that look like? I don't know.
Crazy.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's no, that's super well said. And I'm definitely gonna keep what you said in mind about you're a learner, because I think I am a learner as well. But it's really hard to learn about yourself. And when you
Hmm.
force yourself to, you're like, well, shit, maybe I'm not a learner. Maybe I know nothing. So
Right.
I can relate with that and living in your head. And it sounds like you're in a really great place around knowing yourself and using that and turning it into great music. So
Thank you.
yeah,
I I
definitely.
also I also feel I also feel too like it's really like fun to be like I know myself, but I'm also so down to like being wrong
Yeah.
and not knowing. Like I love it. I don't know everything, and it's like, but I'm like, let's be wrong. Like that's also
Yeah.
really fun too. Yeah.
Who's gonna stop you?
No one.
Who's gonna
No
stop
one, Vince. No one.
you? That's awesome. Um, you have mentioned a few things that are on the horizon.
Hmm.
One, I know that I've been hitting you up like, hey, how's the script? What is going on? And I want
Hmm.
to hear about the script, and I also want to hear about some of the upcoming projects after Crybaby that are in the works. If you can share those details.
Yeah, I think I think that writing music has been the gateway to my understanding of my story and my life and my upbringing. And as a
Mhm.
lot of people know, I grew up in a musical family, but I never did music until later. And so my mom and I's relationship is just super key and important in my life. And it's interesting we both do music. And so I've been writing a feature film for forever, but I stopped because this EP. But then I recently just picked up kind of rewriting a series, and I want to do I wrote a pilot for a show around my life and around my mom's life, and
Mhm.
there's not much going on there, but it's really good, and I'm hoping like FX pick it up,
Get up.
um so it's circulating like some of my like communities of friends who are in film and stuff who are really like awesome. And for me it's just more like continuing the voice as an Asian American woman. Like I I still feel like I don't feel represented, and I love being a sliver of representation for any like Asian girl that I like see at a show. And I've mentioned this before and like other, probably with you too, but just it's the best thing to
Yeah.
see, my fans out there. And I love all my fans, but when they're like Vietnamese and they're like, me too. And I'm like, that's so sick. So I just want to keep
Yeah.
writing and creating mediums where more people can find connection with
Mm.
that identity. So
Right.
working, always writing. And then I'm doing, I say these three letters and I'm like, I don't even know what the hell I'm saying, but I am diving into the NFT world. And there's this meme where I LOL because it was like NFT to me means Nelly Furtado. And I was like, 100%. So
100%.
I am doing a drop. I don't, depending on when this is airing, but I am doing a drop in May for my first like NFT song. And so
Nice.
that song will be, I hope, the first song off my first ever full-length album.
Really?
Yes, and I do want to prematurely say that I have done like 9, 10 songs already. So like I
Wow.
have an album in my soul and I'm obsessed with it, but let's focus on the EP. We're proud of the EP. But I'm just having so much fun. Like really, again, it's the more you learn about yourself, the easier it is to just like
Yes.
open your mouth and just say things, and there is no hesitation. And I think the purity of the beginning of my career is something I miss because
Hmm.
I didn't know what I was doing. So
Right.
Low and Honey were like the most successful songs of my whole career thus
Yeah.
far. And I'm like, cool, guys. And so then I'm like, I knew nothing. I didn't even know how to hold a microphone. So I've been looking back and being like, okay, I can't really go back to that purity. But what does it look like now? As
Right.
someone who's been doing this for, 6, 7 years, what does that look like now? And I think a lot of it has to do with there is an ease and a freedom of just settling into yourself. It's also just getting older, I think, to be honest.
Could
Like
be.
to really not care
Yeah.
is so powerful. And of course I care, but it's like slipping more and more and it feels really nice.
You're like, I just want to make art.
Yeah, I do. And like a lot of money, but like totally art.
And
Yeah.
and the money would be great. No one's
Yes.
saying it wouldn't be, but I,
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. So
Okay.
those are coming up. That'll be really fun. And then I'm singing at this in New York for this festival called the Asian Comedy Fest, which is really fun, which is like a dream come true, just being around like a bunch of Asian people. And I keep making the joke that I'm just gonna do stand up instead of sing because that's like my third dream in life. So we're gonna see how that
Good.
goes.
You
I
should.
might. I mean, if anyone's been to my show, I just can't shut my mouth when I'm on stage. So but yeah, I'm excited just to meet more like Asian people in the community and just share like where I'm coming from and learn more about people. And it's a fun time to be me. And it's fun to meet everyone and through art, through comedy, and through film.
Definitely.
So yeah,
When is that comedy fest?
May 7th.
May 7th. Okay. Gotcha.
Mhm.
And then you mentioned having a release party.
Yes, I'm having an EP release party. It might be just like an EP meets my I release an NFT song party on the 18th of May, and it'll be at Noya House in Los Angeles. And I'm really excited about it because my only thing I wanted, only thing, was that we would have cocktails named after my EP.
Why not?
So yeah, the people are just like, I'll have the crybaby, and I'm like, yes, you will.
That's awesome. That is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
So if you were in LA, you know where to be. And if you were in New
come
York,
true.
you know where
Yes.
to be. And then you also need to do something in Chicago over the next year or a year and a half, because that would be awesome. And you have a lot of fans here.
How do I literally feel like I do though is the thing. Like a lot meaning like enough to like go and like sing to like
Definitely.
four friends, but I would love to. How do I go there? What's happening? Is there a festival? Like how do you get me there?
Oh, right. With all the pull I have,
Yeah, right?
I will do some preliminary research for you. Chicago would love to have you.
Lincoln
Hopefully
Hall?
it would stop raining when you
Sure.
come, and it will actually be good. I mean, summertime in Chicago is amazing, and um, you could definitely play a show here. Definitely.
Is there a festival there? It's like a dumb question probably.
Lollapalooza.
Lollapalooza. That's
Yeah.
the one. Got
Yeah,
it.
Lollapalooza, Spring Awakening, which I don't think is
Me.
I don't think you would enjoy playing that.
Okay, okay, cool.
That might piss some people off, but yeah. So it sounds like you have a lot in the pipeline, and I mean I'm so excited to hear the full length album. I didn't know that, so that
Mm.
is phenomenal to hear. If I know how to get the NFT, I will get the NFT, but
Okay,
you
perfect.
might have to like have instructions when you do
Yeah.
it. Like click here, do this, and you get the NFT.
Yeah, I'm still learning, so we're gonna
Okay.
see what happens. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for coming back to Deviate. We love you. We love your music, and you've been fantastic as always.
Thanks for having me back, Vince. I appreciate it. It was really fun catching up, and I really do appreciate all the love and support because it's like it means the world, like always and still.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, we will chat soon. Cry Baby out the 22nd on all streaming platforms. Go take a listen. Let her know what you think.
Give me your thoughts. Give me your opinions. All the feedback.
All the feedback. We love
All the
feedback.
feedback. Yeah.